What makes somebody an alcoholic? Do you know an alcoholic? Do you fear that you're an alcoholic? Today Live.
Open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope. Open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
We are back live here on 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com. It's Restoring Hope Monday, and Joe Meintz is in from St. Gregory's, along with Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And we have a simple conversation today. You know, people overlook the power of alcohol in someone's life. They don't. They see drinking as irresponsible. They see it, or they see it the other way, that the individual can't help it, and there's nothing they can do about it. And I think if we could get this world to stop abusing alcohol, I think it would be an amazingly different world. There isn't, I can't remember what the figure is, but it's less than every minute, every day, someone dies from a drunk driver. The most dangerous thing, of course, is to getting behind the wheel of a several-ton vehicle, barreling down the road as you can barely see out of two eyes, let alone one, and the havoc and the chaos that can be caused by someone who gets behind the wheel and abuses alcohol. Joe Meintz is in with me today from St. Gregory's Retreat Centers. And on a percentage, what's the percentage of people that you're treating for alcohol rather than any other drug or alcohol?
You know, alcohol alone, we're at about 60% of our clientele. That's what they're struggling with. But interestingly enough, alcohol is combined with almost every other substance abuse of choice. So, you know, even the folks that are coming in for prescription drugs, a high percentage of them are also abusing alcohol. So if you take the total, we're probably at about around 85% of our clientele have an alcohol problem in the mix of their addiction. So,
wow. So someone can be on opiates or on pot or on something else, and alcohol's a part of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you ever find anybody? Well, that's too broad of a question. Is there a fair percentage of people who are not involved in alcohol in any way, where it maybe is just opiates or just heroin? Or
yeah, there are. You know, a lot of times what we see, especially with the prescription addictions, those tend to come about from a different place. A lot of times that's coming initially from your doctor, from, you know, pain or something like that, and they've never had an addiction problem and they become addicted to prescription drugs, and then it's less likely that they'll then seek out other addictions. But a lot of times, you know, they talk about pot as being the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Well, alcohol certainly just as much. You know, a lot of times people will first develop an alcohol problem and then deviate into other substances, but they don't leave the alcohol behind. It continues to follow them through their addiction path. So,
what do you think about that? Joe Meintz from St. Gregory's is our guest, along with Bob Montserrat. What do you think about that marijuana being a gateway drug?
You know, I mean, there's plenty of studies that say it is, and then there's also plenty of studies that say it isn't. Here's what I know. It really depends on, it's like anything. I don't think it's the substance in and of itself. It's what is your perception of the effects of that substance. So, you know, when you get high, if you're a young kid or something that's starting to experiment with marijuana, it can go in two very different ways. Some people are able to say, hey, that was a lot of fun on Friday night, and that's where it stops. Some people gain a new perspective that to them is better as far as their inner perception of who they are. If when you get high and you feel like you're a better person in that scenario, then you're going to be a lot more likely to use that and continue to look for other things that help you detach even more. And in that sense, it can be a gateway drug. But the idea that it's because they smoked marijuana, I just don't necessarily agree with. I think just about anything is going to be a gateway drug. It's just that whichever is the most accessible, that's going to be the gateway drug.
Yeah, I agree with that. Instead of saying is, it could be.
Could
be a gateway drug.
Okay.
Right. And also, I should also mention, you mentioned about drunk driving fatalities. When I started working in the alcohol section back in 1982, were you born then? And
I was 2.
it was like 52% of the people of all crashes were caused by drunks. And we've improved that. Now it's like, we're down to 31%. I mean, it's still bad, but we're talking a little over 10,000 people out of the number of people. I mean, we had like 32,800 people that died in 2010 in crashes, automobile crashes, and 31% of those, a little over 10,000, were with
alcohol related.
It's alcohol related, but as Joe was saying, a lot of times there are other drugs on board, but we're testing alcohol and may not be catching all of those other drugs on board.
Bob, at the lab, it's a different test to run for pot or a different test to run for opiates or something like that?
Yes. Well,
no, don't they order those on all questionable deaths?
Usually, if the medical examiner has it, they look for those full screens.
Okay.
There's a system where you do screens on bloods or urines, depending on what's submitted, and you look for a certain drug panel. You have panels set up. You look for the most abused drugs.
Now, when you started in 82, what was the blood alcohol level that was acceptable?
Well, then it was 0.100. Now, before that time...
0.18.
Yeah, I was going to say it was at least 0.15 early on. And so then they went to 0.10, and then it was a big fight to get it to 0.08, and they want to go even lower. In Europe, it's like, well, in some areas it's 0.02.
No, I don't understand that. Talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Obviously, it's not taking less alcohol for people to get drunk. They're just lowering the hammer on how few of drinks you can have before you get behind the wheel.
Well, that's correct. I mean, at 0.02, you're talking about one beer in your system, one shot of whiskey.
Yeah.
To get you average person to a 0.02. So they don't want it at all. And I'm a non-drinker, so if I have a beer, I'm not safe on the road. That's just the way it is with me. So there are people out there.
Lightweight.
Well, even other people that may be social drinkers, they can be really drunk and be under 0.8, the per se level, and still be a tremendous danger on the highways.
Yeah.
Or operating any motor vehicle.
Yeah.
And so what are we doing? I mean, I go to court a lot, testifying on drunk driving cases. It's just prevalent. It's just out there. But the good thing is it has come down as to the percentage that are dying. But I'm still saying that we don't know about how many drugs are in the system, and the biggie is the prescription drugs that people are taking legally, if you want to consider it legal.
But you can test to see if a quote unquote legal prescription drug is in somebody's system.
You can, but then if the person has a prescription for that and they're taking according to whatever the doctor says, and usually on the vials it says you shouldn't operate a motor vehicle if you're under these
right.
drugs, but a lot of times people get off because it's within the prescription limits. Do you agree?
Yep, absolutely. And that's a big point. I mean, you're dealing with something that's obviously going to impair you when heroin addicts will a lot of times switch over and use the prescription equivalent because it's cheaper or more readily accessible.
Right.
So obviously if it's getting you as high as heroin, then you ought not drive. And, so there's...
Yeah.
It just is magnifying just how big of an issue it really is.
Right, it is. And the thing is, we are, in our laboratory, we run urines for drug content, and we get many of them. We're loaded with benzos and zolpidem and you name it. We're finding it on these cases that are submitted as OWI, operating while intoxicated in the state. So, we're not reflecting on those statistics, but those statistics are there, and they're very high. Right now, we're just looking and talking basically about the alcohol itself. And alcohol is a big problem, tremendous problem. And domestics and all the crimes that we go on.
Yeah.
It's always there. It's always present.
Do you think that, we tried to ban alcohol in the 20s, and we know what that got us.
Sure.
Do you think society has changed to the point where we could try that again?
Boy, I don't see that working.
Okay.
No, I think we're going to have to leave it in there and do what we're doing now, installing ignition interlock devices. You have to be able to take the danger away from a person that chooses to drink and continue to drive.
So do you think ignition interlocks ought to be standard operating procedure on all new cars?
I think eventually they will be. You know, we're headed in that direction.
Something pops out of the steering wheel or something like that?
Or you have it on the steering wheel itself where it can actually sense it, you know, in your perspiration.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, now as we're using breath, you know, you blow in, but they're developing other methods of detection of alcohol. And if they detect it at certain levels, they have to get past, you know, aftershave lotion and other things that could have caused it. But when they do that, then if you can't start your car, you can't go anywhere. And those people that are offenders can get ignition interlocks, and if they have any alcohol in their system, it's not going to let the car start. And if they have somebody else start the car, it retests you know, in 10 minutes and then random within half hour, so you have to continue to blow while you're going.
Yeah, I had one of those in my car after I got my license back, and it was embarrassing. It was, you couldn't take anybody in the car that didn't know your situation because you had this big honking thing that you had to blow in to start it. And then you're right, it was like every 10 minutes. And, you know, the thought was, well, just bring somebody along who's sober. Well, then let him drive, for heaven's sake. Yeah. But I would be in favor of interlocks being required equipment on vehicles. How would that change our world? I mean, if you could get rid of drunk driving in America, how would that change our lives? It'd be incredible.
It would be. I mean, you'd have to do it on boats too, because that's people drink while they're on the water and crash and kill people there too. I just testified on a trial from a boater that hit another boater, and that person was under the influence.
Well, I know.
Yeah. It says operating while intoxicated, so that could be any vehicle.
Right. I know. I remember when that started coming up, 2-3 years ago, they started cracking down out at Saylorville, and I thought, I don't know about that. You know, and I'm not a boater, so it didn't make any difference to me, but that seems to be so much of the fun of boating. And, you know, it's not like you're following a small lane. You know, you can go anywhere on the water.
Yeah, but when you're coming into the dock and there's supposed to be no wake and people are going way over the speed limit because they're not aware of what they're doing, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but those are just stupid people.
Well,
with alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. And so people are dying out there on the waterways. I mean, I know because I'm dealing with that.
See, I sound like such a liberal when I say that, you know, that to put interlocks in vehicles. But doesn't it seem to make sense to you, or would you be against that?
You know what?
And you weren't a drinker, so that wasn't a big issue with you.
You know, I certainly have a pretty strong libertarian streak in me, but I got to tell you, that's what I'm okay with, and I really am. And you know, I mean, anybody that's had a charge by the police, and maybe they're able to get off, and the DOT can still say, we don't care.
Yeah, right.
And they'll come back at you and say, well, you need to understand, driving's not a right.
Right.
It's a privilege. And I'm good with that. You know, so when it comes to the interlocks in vehicles, I'm totally okay with that one. You know, you're using a public mode of transportation. I say go for it. The boating one, that's a tough one for me too. And I guess I don't know why it is, but it just feels a little bit different than having one in the car. But yeah, you know, and one thing to really think about, you know, when you talk about just how many vehicle fatalities that there are from alcohol, I can't remember what the statistic that the police forces always throw out, but you know, if you've been arrested, you can count on you've done it so many times before. Right. You know, you can really imagine then just how much destruction is going on from just a daily basis in those people's lives for years before something really tragic does happen. But the tragedies have long fingers, and every fatality from alcohol is pretty indicative of just how long and far-reaching that problem has been anyway.
It's Restoring Hope Live on this Monday with Joe Mines and Bob Mozzarella. We'll continue. How do you know if alcohol is a problem for you? There's really an easy test. We'll share it with you next, live here on webcastonelive.com.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
21 minutes past the hour here live Monday on restoringhopelive.com. We do have a new website up. You can check that out, restoringhopelive.com. Kind of like we do everything here. It's Webcast One Live. It's Max World Live. So it's restoringhopelive.com. And we don't have a player that you can hear the live shows on that site yet, but Dan did a great job getting that set, getting that website lined up. It's got the bios and it's got a little promo of the different shows that we've done, so we appreciate you checking that out. Joe Mines from St. Gregory's in the house, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and we're going to go back to talk to Bob a little bit later about how the future may look for you as a driver to stop you from driving while under the influence. But I've had many people over the years ask me the question, how do I know if I'm an alcoholic? And is there an answer? Is there a pat answer that fits everybody?
When you think you probably are.
Okay. I've heard that a lot.
That's the best answer. I mean, people know, and then you start going through your justifications and all of those things, but people know.
I only drink at home, or I don't turn into a big raving idiot, or
and there's also, I don't think you have to get to a point of am I an alcoholic, because that has other implications. Now we're talking about physical dependencies and things like that. I think it's best to look at alcohol like anything else in life. Is this posing as a barrier for me being who God wants me to be? And if the answer is yes, then find a solution. That's really the best guidepost that I've found for really anything, to tell you the truth. So it's really, is this who I am or not? And I think that's always going to be the best perspective to take.
Does this is a rhetorical question, but I'd be curious to see if your answer was different than mine. Does God make someone to be an alcoholic?
No, I don't think so.
But if it's a disease,
I don't think it is.
Okay, that's right. You and I differ on that. You think it's what?
I think it's a condition we find ourselves in. I think it's a dependency. I think it's, I think alcohol is synonymous with all kinds of things in our life that are all sinful. There's things that we'll find in life to rely on for our functionality that pull us away from who we were created to be, and I think that goes into that list. We have different paths back, or there's different modes of recovery from alcohol or other sins or any other behaviors or even mindsets that we have. But I haven't found a whole lot of difference. I think that's the core issue. And I tell you, one of the things that really brings me back to this a lot are the remedies for alcoholism or substance abuse in general. I see what the psychological and medical fields are doing about this. And for the most part, what I keep seeing is very little attention paid to the being as a soul. Everything, there must be some other pharmacological fix, or you get into Freudian psychology a lot. There's all of these other things that, frankly, in remedy are not in line with a biblical solution. If those two don't match up for me, I have a hard time going down that path. Regression psychology, where it's all about taking you back to your childhood and finding the trauma and saying this is why you are who you are. Now, I agree that you can find some activating events or some antecedents in that, but I do not think that defines who you are. I think that we're defined by our everyday actions and behaviors. I tell you what, when I liken. Let me go back a little bit here.
Okay, go ahead and unpack it.
We'd spoken a little bit before we went on the air. I was at the 8th grade retreat this weekend for a confirmation.
You're a little old, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a little old, but I needed a refresher. No. But I thought a lot about it, and yes, the retreat's for 8th grade kids, but as a leader, I was able to get a lot out of it as well, just kind of watching their journeys also. And it really kind of opened my eyes in a refreshing way on just what's happening throughout a recovery process. As these young men this weekend were really going through a consolidated process to start getting their wheels turning a little bit. These guys, they're caught up in school with homework, and they got sports, and they got all the things of life going on all the time. And it's very difficult to, look a little bit more existentially at who am I? They're looking at everything in the moment. This is how I live. This is how I behave when I go to soccer practice or baseball practice. This is how I am in math class. And they get this idea of who they are from their normal experiences. Right. And the real goal of doing a retreat is to take them out of that everyday process and really help them to come to view life in a different way, if not for just a little while, to really kind of reground on taking a look at who do I want to be, who have I been created to walk like. And I think we as Christians know the answer to that. And looking at a recovery process, it's incredibly similar. They get out of their normal day-to-day routine, day-to-day life, and they're really taking a concentrated look with fresh eyes and getting a little help to review who they are. And a lot of the same things start to happen. They really start noticing the directions and tangents that they've gone behaviorally, morally, all of those different areas of life. That's when you really start paying attention to those. That in and of itself is the most successful thing that we can come out of a recovery process with, at least at St. Gregory's. It's this process of reconnecting with who are you really, where have you gone astray, and how can we kind of help you get back to that. I've yet to see a medical intervention. I've yet to see, the heavy psychotherapy interventions be anywhere near as successful to that simple action of being able to get away and really have a process of reconnecting with yourself and your creator. To me, that's just, it's been amazing to watch countless people go through this process. So I think there's a real worldly view of addiction, and there's, I would consider a spiritual view of addiction that's more in line with just who we are and human nature and who we are as beings. And from everything that I've seen, understanding things from that spiritual perspective is so much more powerful and, frankly, so much more effective than anything that I've seen come out of the medical intervention or a secular psychological intervention. So, whenever they start piling labels on, that means that's when they're throwing all of their new interventions at it. I haven't seen any of those be real effective. I think the easiest way to get back to it is to really reconnect with your roots. Let's see who you were created to be, and that's why I have a difficulty with the notion of disease.
Disease, yeah.
Joe Meintz is here from St. Gregory's. Bob, you were going to say something.
No, because what he was saying was why he doesn't consider it disease. And that whole thing you were saying was describing why you don't consider it a disease, because a disease is something that comes on you. There's nothing you can do about. It just happens to you, and that's how people receive it. Mm-hmm. Not all diseases, a lot of diseases are avoidable, if you live your life the right way. And so I think it's easy to say disease because it takes away responsibility from you.
Yeah. And to me, I think the big issue is, when we're talking about substance dependency and alcoholism, you can stop. You can stop. You may need some emotional help to stop, but that's all we're getting. That's all treatment is for the most part. It's emotional support. But at the end of the day, you just stopped. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Now, aren't you also changing addictions?
Aren't we what?
Changing addictions. Are there good addictions?
I wouldn't say there's good addictions. I would say that there's healthy habits, but anything that you're relying on that's outside of what you were created to rely on, I would say is a problem.
Well, some people may say they're addicted on God.
I wouldn't say you're addicted on God. I would say that you're created to be in eternal relationship with God.
What about those people who can't find that relationship with their creator?
That's a real tough one.
It really is, isn't it?
It's a really tough one, and I tell you, that's one I struggle with all the time. And
not for you personally.
Well, no, but just that whole question, and a little bit this weekend. I've got some kids that are really just kind of getting on fire about this relationship with their Savior and kind of taking a new look at their own lives. And these are middle school kids. That's a hard thing to do, and it's certainly a hard thing to do on a prolonged scale. But then there's some that aren't. And, you always think about, what's it going to take here? I know plenty of adults that I have a very good friend who's a well-established psychologist, emotional intelligence psychologist. And, he's got all kinds of arguments against God. And I know, and I think we all know, it's a fact that we have to face, that there's a lot of people that don't come to that relationship. Mm-hmm. And why people reject God, I don't understand it entirely. I get it as far as, how you can struggle with it and you can go away. But I know for me personally, he put some awfully heavy calls on my heart a lot of times, and it got to a point where there wasn't a whole lot of avoiding it anymore.
Right.
And I don't know why that doesn't happen to everybody.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I cannot, I don't think there's ever been a day in my conscious life that I could have said there is no God.
Yeah.
It just seems so obvious to me. But as obvious it is to you or I, it's as void in some other people.
Right.
And I can't figure out whether that's denial or, as the Calvinists would say, they weren't chosen.
Right. Right. And
They were never supposed to be.
I've got a lot of difficulty with that.
Yeah.
But that's a really difficult one, and it's equally difficult seeing people come into treatment because the reality there is also not everybody's going to remain sober. I know with the St. Gregory program, it's got an incredible success rate, but yet we're saddened all the time when we get reports of people are not remaining sober, they're struggling, and we, especially because we know that every time someone finds a period of recovery and has that relapse, it's absolutely devastating to them because it's one more time where they've kind of proven to themselves, I just can't do it.
Right.
That's when that's when the real turmoil in life hits, and it's a really difficult thing to come to grips with. So that's why I think my tendency is always to look at it as, well, this person was created for something, and I don't think that it was for addiction. And the reason why I believe that to be true is because it's something that you can stop, and it's certainly something that's going to pull you farther and farther and farther from your Creator.
But don't you think that there are people that are on this earth that God intended to be lost and alcoholic? So there are others who look at that and say, I have to stop. I don't want to become like that.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think if you go down that road, then you have to start crediting God for evil things. And that's a really difficult impasse to come to.
God made alcohol.
That's true, and you can use alcohol without all of the devastating impacts as well. But
that's true.
As far as where it takes someone's life, I think it's really tough to come to a point to say, God did this to me. And that's essentially what they would be saying. You'd have to tell a mother that, don't worry about your son, God did this. And I don't think you can get there.
Joe Meintz is here from St. Gregory's. Bob Monster at the Cat in the Hat. I'm J. Michael McCoy. And if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here, powered by WebcastOneLive.com. This is Restoring Hope Live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittysusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
Fight the good fight on a Rebels Cause Radio, Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on a rebelscause.com. A Rebels Cause Radio is edutainment.
The point is, we are free now to do what we could never do before, and that is love and obey Christ and answer to Him, our Savior, rather than answer to someone else on this earth who sets Him up as your authority. You and I answer to Christ.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
3:38:22 before the top. Salem Radio Network News and Michael Mudloff with True Blue this afternoon live here on 99.3 KTIA. Joe Meintz is in the house along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. Before we go back to our conversation that we were having, let's go to the phones where Frank is standing by. Frank, you're live on RestoringHopeLive.com. How you doing, Frank?
Good, Mac. Hey, would anybody disagree that drugs or alcohol is a problem when you can't live without it?
Yes.
Well, I got 2 quick points on this. One would be our Lord and Savior who died on the cross was offered some concoction for pain-killing purposes of a wine mixed with a gall. Gall is some kind of a poppy or opiate or something. I'm not particularly sure. But it was some concoction to ease his pain. He nailed addiction right on the cross for all of us. There's no excuse for any of us to say we got to depend on drugs or alcohol for a crutch. That's my personal opinion. The second thing is I get really a little bent out of shape and upset, particularly at a guy like Ron Paul, who's a doctor, who goes around advocating. I know he's not particularly wanting to advocate all drug use. I think it's marijuana. But when you open the door to marijuana, the inevitable question is, why not legalize everything? And the argument by the recreational drug users is, well, the stuff's just dirty. If we could just get drugs that are pure and uncut, it wouldn't be addictive problems. Well, what's any more pure and uncut than prescription drugs? And we know people who are addicted on those every day are dying.
Yeah, Frank makes a good point that where do you stop? Father Tattoo walked in here after the first break and we thought that all cars ought to have interlocks and everything and, called us all communists. And I understand where that's coming from. Mm-hmm. Why should someone who does not have an alcohol issue or a dependency issue have to have an interlock on his car? Well, I have an answer for that. Why do all people have to wear seatbelts?
Yeah.
Why do all babies need to be put in a car seat? Why do all cars have to have airbags? I would certainly agree, though, that after, I don't know, maybe it's after one OWI, just one, that you're on an interlock for 5 years. And I know, I understand personally how embarrassing that can be. But I got to tell you something, even though I was never going to drink and drive after my last OWI, which I didn't drink and drive for 9 years, it was sure nice to have that interlock there in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, again, when it's the public mode of transportation, I'm for that one. That's one where, regardless of your disposition toward alcohol you're going to be sharing that road with everyone. Yeah. I'm fine with that. The marijuana issue, that's, and we've had that conversation when it was before Congress, and that's one that goes real deep and has a lot of different dynamics to it, and it's real easy to get stuck on both sides of that one. But really going back to the initial point of the call was, I think it really always comes back to, there's lots of things in life that are going to cause serious problems for the general public. That's why I also think and feel very strongly that, it's the morality of our culture that is the most important piece of all of this. We're not going to be able to legislate everyone use your prescription drugs safely. We certainly know that there's a lot of really incredibly wonderful uses for prescription drugs. They'll keep us alive. They keep us okay throughout a healing process of surgeries and things like that. And it's those same ones that can absolutely ruin our lives. I think it's the same thing with just about everything. For crying out loud, the fall of man came from a piece of fruit. I think that we're a culture and our sinful nature can pretty much turn devastation from anything.
You're right. It came from a piece of fruit, but what it really came from, which is at the core of almost every sin in this world, and that is a lie.
Yeah.
I learned that a couple years ago in one of my men's Bible studies, and I'd probably heard it a dozen times before in sermons, but it hit me. And I challenge you to test that. And if you can find a sin that doesn't begin with a lie, I want you to tell me what that is. Because I've thought about this for a lot of years. And every single sin that we commit, adultery, starts with a lie that we're unlovable, or we're not loved by our spouse, or I can do better than the spouse that I have at home. Lust starts with a lie. I can be sexually fulfilled through imagination and daydreaming and whatever you want to call that. Honoring your mother and father, it begins with a lie that you're not loved, that they don't deserve your absolute utmost respect and support. It's just amazing. Everything starts with a lie. All right, now when we got done with that last break, we went into a commercial break, and we started to talk a little bit about that. Wondering how God exists in this world with all the drugs and alcohol problems. Let's pick that conversation up a little bit. The drug and alcohol problems don't come from God, right?
Right.
Did God give you the substance abuse problem that you have so you could be a mighty warrior and deliverer of souls for so many that you have in your life? I mean, don't you think? Or is that one of those deals where God restored your soul and your life and your sobriety because you reached out to him?
I think that, like anything, God can use evil for good. I think that, it's much... I do not think that... It's anything to do with God, the path that I took. My path, the only involvement that God had there was that he was waiting for me to come back while I willingly ran the other direction for a long, long time.
Okay.
And he was there waiting for me with his blessings and bounty of fulfillment when I, really kind of came to my senses. But that's a difficult thing for a lot of people to talk about. And I'd mentioned to you that I really did think that, well, that must have been my path. That must have been, maybe he did intend for me to go there, especially because as deep in as I became for a long time, looking back, the only thing that we could think of to justify how I wasn't in prison or dead was, well, God must have intended for me to go down that path and kept me safe so I could come out and help other people. I've since reversed course, and I don't think that that's the case. We have to understand, and this is one of the real points that I think should be made with as much magnitude as possible.
Okay.
We don't know what circumstances God may or may not keep us safe through. People die. They die all the time. In mundane ways, in ways that they brought along by themselves, in completely accidental ways. I think the course of the discussion from anything that has to do with the quality of one's life has to come back to, at any time, where is your relationship with your Creator? I think, I can't find a way to justify this idea that God just let me go down this path of addiction and kept me safe so I could come out of it, because I did a lot of harm and a lot of damage to his creation while I was there.
But isn't there a lot of examples in the Old Testament where God allows someone to go down the wrong path so later on they can be a prophet, be an answer for somebody else?
I don't know that, God Well, I will say I don't know of anything where he sent someone down the wrong path.
And Joe? He said allowed. So
yes.
he could allow it.
So allow, yes. But I don't think he would send someone down a wrong path, especially if that path also included doing the massive harm to his creation.
47 minutes after the hour, we're coming back live here on RestoringHopeLive.com, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Thanks to my friend Matt Baird from the band Spoken for writing and singing our theme song, Restoring Hope, here live on the RestoringHopeLive.com program. We appreciate you being here. St. Gregory's Joe Meintz is in the house along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and produced today by Father Tattoo. Let's go back to a topic we were talking about for a little bit, and I think this is really important to understand, and that is that, Bob, based on your weight, your height, different people are going to metabolize alcohol in different ways.
Yeah, not based on your height. That has really nothing to do with it.
Okay.
But your physiology will determine at what rate you will metabolize alcohol or oxidize alcohol, which the liver does. And there's an average that I use, and it's about 1 drink per hour is what a person will burn off.
1 drink meaning 1 shot, 1 ounce.
Yeah, 1 ounce of whiskey, 1 6 ounce of wine, or 1 can of beer.
How many ounces in a liter? Do you know?
Well, it's going to be probably around 33, somewhere around there.
All right. So, and the more you drink, the more your body gets used to it, right?
Yeah, it's a tolerance that your body builds up.
Okay.
So that you can handle, that's another term, a common term, handle your alcohol better than others.
And I was surprised to learn this from you one day, that the more expensive the alcohol is, it's not less dangerous for your body. It just simply tastes better.
That's correct, because alcohol is alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, alcohol in the cheapest stuff is still alcohol.
Well, I guess I just thought, and I should know this, but I just always thought the more expensive alcohol was not as hard on your liver or your kidneys or stuff like that. But it didn't matter.
No. So if you see a label that says 6% alcohol or 12% alcohol, alcohol is alcohol no matter how much you pay for it.
Okay. All right.
Right.
And
I should also say, mouthwash has alcohol.
Right.
Cough syrups have
Right.
alcohol. But they call it SD alcohol. You ever see that on if you read the label? SD?
What's SD?
Specially denatured.
Denatured?
It's specially denatured, so you don't want to drink it. But if you do...
That's true, I guess.
You'll still get drunk.
Yeah.
So it doesn't... you could get drunk on NyQuil.
Now, what do you
Listerine.
What do you believe about the Catholic and Episcopalian thinking that once wine has been consecrated, an alcoholic can drink it and won't get drunk? Have you ever heard that before?
You mean if you're taking communion or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, you're not taking very large volume. So you can take a small sip and never get drunk.
Yeah.
You can handle that. Your liver is burning it off. Remember, 1 drink per hour? And, so what's the alcohol content of wine? About 12%,
Yeah.
maybe? So it's not gonna get you drunk.
Well, let me share with you a couple of things that I observed in the restaurant business over the years, and because you can figure out the people who abuse alcohol quite easily. One, and this may make you snicker, but when a table is done with their meal and they're leaving, and there's a couple of glasses of half-finished drinks, the drunk or the alcoholic or the whatever you want to call them, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, will finish each of those glasses. He will never leave the table with alcohol on the table. Right, Joe?
Happens a lot.
Yeah. The other thing is that the alcoholic nightcap is usually the stiffest drink of all. It's not the first one. It's the last one. And, I can remember, oh man, sometimes this stuff flashes back in my head. I can remember going to restaurants and not wanting to seem like I was ordering a lot of alcohol. So I'd go to the waitress and say, just make mine a triple. Mm-hmm. And when you bring me back another one, make that a triple too. So I'm not ordering drinks, but I was, I was taking down 3 shots at a time. And for some people, that would be enough for the whole dinner. And I might have 3 of those drinks. I might have 9 shots within an hour and still function, or at least I thought.
I'd be on the floor.
Yeah, function just fine.
After the first.
Yeah, as far as the consecrated wine, I'm not touching transubstantiation with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, well, I'm not either. But I even dip my wafer now in the grape juice that we have. I just don't want to. I don't want to test that. Well, somebody asked me the other day if I ever have challenges with it. And I thought back to Nashville just 2 weekends ago. We were sitting in the sports bar. The Duke game was on. We're having chicken wings and nachos and just everything's flying around us. Didn't faze me. Didn't think for 1 minute. Maybe, nobody knows me down here. I could go tell the waitress, give me a drink. But I think the what do they say, Joe? The desire, it's just gone from me, because that's one of the things we ask the Lord to do for us.
I think that you have been able to shed the wrong view of what alcohol actually is and does. Now it's in a right perspective. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. It's not the thing that you need to be who you thought Mac was.
Yeah.
Now Mac's Mac, and you know that. And it looks much different. I was surprised also, when I really began doing more and more interventions, some of them got a little wild. And I recall it wasn't long after I came out of treatment and I was on an intervention, and the family was not involved in this. So it was just me. And I got to the guy's house, and for whatever reason, he let me in on my 3rd try. But I walked in, and there was probably about a half a pound of methamphetamine on his table.
Oh, my heavens.
And he sat there and used it in front of me for about 4 hours, and it just didn't look the same as it used to. But, in the past when I'd seen it, that's not a pile of meth. That's how I'm going to function. That's how I'm going to deal with my family. That's how I go to work. That's how I'm me. Mm-hmm. When I knew that not to be true anymore. It didn't look the same to me anymore. And it's a strange experience.
Yeah. Yeah, my deal was that I still don't sleep very well. I drank and we've talked about this before on the air, but I never drank in the morning. I never drank at noon. I never drank probably before 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but between 5 and 9, holy Toledo. And I drank because I didn't sleep. And I think it's interesting, and I think you guys know this. Now when I wake up, I woke up this morning at 12:47. Now, waking up on a Monday morning, 12:47, or is this Monday? Yeah. That's going to be a long day, okay? So what I do now is I listen to sermons. I have my little Droid tablet, and I've got my favorite preachers all lined up, and I just click it on, turn it on, find the one, and listen to it. And I think that's interesting that God gave me His Word to fill those times that I couldn't sleep. Joe, thanks for being here.
Thank you,
St. Gregory's, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. We'll see you Thursday, right?
Yeah, I have to teach tomorrow.
Okay. And Dan, thanks for producing. Dennis, thanks for being here. We'll see you later. Mr. Michael Mudloff is next with True Blue after Salem Radio Network News, live on 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com. Remember, tonight, just pray.